Okay, my name is Your Highness, and welcome to Actualyzr. You're listening in on the Grown Folks Talking Network. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And today's topic is going to be emotions. So that's a very loaded topic. It's a very broad topic, but as you know, on this show we address things holistically. So I'm going to be talking about it from the angles of psychology, spirituality, and physical. Considering that emotions are more of a cerebral and energetic concept, it's going to have more of the psychology and spirituality like me today, but nonetheless, we'll still address all fronts. So, since today we're going to be talking about chakras, particularly like the heart chakra, I want to start by not assuming how much anybody knows about the subject, and not to get too off track, but I really like that lesson. Last summer, when I was teaching at North Miami Senior High School, I was an algebra summer school teacher, and when I was looking at the lesson plan, the first subject was slope. Me, I've always been naturally good at math. So going into that, I'm like, oh, easy peasy. This is going to be light work. I'm going to go in. Everybody's going to understand everything. But when I got in there, despite these being high schoolers, I guess I had not been considerate of everybody's background, I guess, because I'm like, oh, when I was 14, I could do slope in my sleep. However, when I got in that class and I'm trying to explain that it's just how much the line goes up on top of how much it goes over, I saw so many puzzled faces, and I immediately knew that I had messed up by over-assuming, like, how much people know. So I say all that to say, we're going to start baseline. What is a chakra? So I'm sure, considering that, like, a lot of people are gaining more of an interest in spirituality, you've at least heard of the term. It's of, like, Eastern origin. I'm pretty sure it's a Sanskrit word. And what it is describing is the energy centers in our body. So, as we all know, we're not just physical creatures. We have souls, we have spirits, we have minds, and all those other intricacies. And our chakras are our energy centers that influence our subtle bodies, and it also influences our physical form and our minds. So, we have 7 of them. I don't know how many people in here have watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, but there's a scene when his mentor gives like a really good description. It was a visualization. So how it starts off is they're at kind of like, it's not a stream, but it also is kind of a stream. It's like a stacked stream. So it's like a couple of little pools, and all their water kind of like waterfalls into the other. But the pool at the bottom was totally empty, and the mentor went through clearing out all like the moss and the leaves and the rocks from the top all the way to the bottom until the water was able to just flow smoothly. Similarly, these are kind of like pools of energy that exist throughout the body. So there are 7 of them, and you count them like going in ascending order from like top to bottom in the body. So you have the root chakra, which you can visualize as being like a red energy center at the base of your spine. And what the root chakra rules is it's kind of like our physical form, our groundedness. If you have a clear root chakra, you'll probably feel like pretty stable and secure in your resources, and also like your sense of belonging and so on. The sacral chakra, it has control over our emotional needs, our emotional expression especially. It also rules like sexuality and also creativity, all those creative life force energies. Next up is the solar plexus, and the solar plexus is kind of like at the bottom of the rib cage. And I didn't specify what the sacral was. The sacral is kind of like 2 fingers down from your belly button. But the solar plexus, that's a yellow one. It's associated with like the element fire, so it gives us a lot of drive. It rules our ambition, our ego, and how we kind of present ourselves. And next up is the heart chakra, right at the center of the chest. And that kind of governs our connection with other people. It's where we feel love. It's where we feel empathy and affection. Next up is the throat chakra, as you could guess, it's where the throat is, and that pertains to communication. It's blue chakra. It also rules like our understanding and our ability to be understood. Next up, I'm sure everybody has heard of this one. It's the third eye chakra. You can visualize it as existing in between your two eyebrows. That kind of deals with foresight and intuition, planning ahead, and that one's indigo. So it's kind of like between blue and purple. And then all the way at the tippy top, you have the crown chakra. The crown chakra, it's known to be either purple or white. I guess you go with what aligns more with you. And that kind of governs our spiritual connection and how we connect with our higher being, whether it's God for you, whether it's Allah, whether it's Source, it's the universe, whoever that is for you. The crown chakra helps you to connect to that. So that's like your basic rundown on what the chakras are. Why that's important today is that we're talking about emotions. As I had said earlier, typically the sacral chakra is seen as the one that rules your emotions, because when your sacral chakra is closed, you might experience a sense of detachment from other people and even from like yourself and your own emotions. So it governs how we experience like social obligation and fulfillment and getting like that sustenance from being around other people, and also creativity and sexuality, as I had mentioned. However, considering that the 7 chakras are a bodily system, an energetic body system, no one thing is strictly compacted into the spot of a single chakra. So how we can see that also is with the solar plexus chakra. I told you the ruling element for the solar plexus is fire. So that's kind of when you get really angry and you kind of feel like that knot in your stomach, that's the solar plexus. It also deals with self-esteem, ego, and obviously those things are inherently emotionally tied to you because it's who you are, it's the self that you put forward in the world. So another chakra, and I told you is going to be the main chakra of discussion, is the heart. So the heart element is air. So air is very loose. If you remember from chemistry class, like gas is what has like the most dispersed particles that are kind of going everywhere, doesn't necessarily occupy a form. And that's reflected in the properties of the heart chakra because our hearts are infinite. They don't occupy one little space. You'll suffer a lot when you try and pack your feelings and your love into one space. It's infinite like the sky. It's infinite like outer space. It's truthfully all-encompassing and expansive. But a lot of people today are kind of out of touch with their heart chakras, and that's the source of a lot of pain, discomfort, and quite frankly, suffering that we see in the world. But we'll go a little more in depth in that later. So when the heart chakra is blocked, one might struggle with forgiveness. They'll have difficulties in their relationships, and they will also be apathetic and lack compassion. And that honestly goes to reason, because how can you have good relationships if you're not emotionally seeing another person? How could you have a good relationship if you're not emotionally seeing yourself? These are things you have to take into consideration when living in a world that kind of tells you that the people who harden themselves, the people who block off their heart chakra, will be the ones that thrive. It's like, even in hearing that and knowing that that's like an accepted truth of the world we live in, it really calls into question the values of the people who set it up this way. And it just shows the importance of kind of being self-led, self-guided, and not looking outside yourself for metrics of goodness or success, because that's all self-defined. So what gets stuck in the heart chakra? So it's not only negativity that gets trapped in chakras. Sometimes it's positive. But the thing is, those positive things can get trapped behind the negative things. Like, so for example, joy and love are like the main emotions associated with this chakra, but they can kind of get put in energy jail by getting stuck behind worry, by getting stuck behind sadness, getting stuck behind anger and fear, because it's very hard to smile and go through the world with like peace, love, and joy in your heart when you're scared about your resources, when you're scared of the people around you, when you're worried about what tomorrow will hold, and you're isolated in that. I told you, when you're stuck with those feelings, your relationships suffer. It's so hard being bogged down by multiple low vibrational negative emotions and also not being able to, seek aid and get help from other people. So moving on to the psychological definition of emotions. So, of course, I love these guys. The American Psychological Association is my source of this definition. And the definition reads that emotions are conscious mental reactions like anger or fear that are subjectively experienced as strong feelings, usually directed towards a specific object and typically accompanied by physiological and behavioral changes in the body. So there's a couple things that I want to, expand on, zoom into in this definition. When I first read this definition, I was so shocked that it started off with the word conscious, because I feel like usually when you're caught in an emotion storm, it doesn't seem like you're conscious of anything. It kind of just feels like, I don't know, man, you're lost in the sauce. Like, it's crazy in there. However, due to like me kind of being like, I looked up how is like conscious defined, and it's simply like knowing, feeling, noticing, being aware of something. So I feel like when I first read this, I was kind of conflating the word conscious with intentional, and obviously that's not the same thing. We don't intentionally feel anything. Feelings kind of just, they arrive. They're an energy of themselves, so we have to just let it pass. And the next thing about this definition I'd like to talk about is the word subjective. So it says they're conscious mental reactions subjectively experienced. And I feel like knowing this is very important for validating yourself in the way that you feel, because I know we've all at least once have heard or probably been the sayer of, it's not that deep. How do you know what is that deep for another person? It's a subjective experience. We feel things differently. Two people could go through the same exact experience. One might be like, that was a little uncomfortable. The other one might be paralyzed, stuck, because they're so crippled by what they felt. We're all individuals. It's a subjective experience. What's not that big of a deal to you feels like the end of the world for another person. So always be considerate before you say something like that to somebody, and also consider it for yourself for when you hear that from somebody, because nobody can tell you your story. So moving on. Conscious mental reactions subjectively experienced as strong feelings, usually directed towards a specific object and typically accompanied by physiological and behavioral changes in the body. Now, this is very important. So I feel like a lot of people don't really tune into the body when they're experiencing an emotion. I know a lot of people probably deal with intellectualizing their emotions. When they feel sad or they feel upset, they go about the process by explaining to themselves why it doesn't make sense that they feel that way, why it's not that big of a deal, and why they should probably just get over it. That's not what feeling your feelings is. And also, we probably have the other extreme of people who get sad. So, I don't know, they put on their sad music, they put on a sad movie, and they think and think and think and think about the event that made them sad. They ruminate, they get stuck in it. I hate to break it to you, but that's also not feeling your feelings. How an individual goes about feeling their feelings is tuned into the body, not the thoughts. Because honestly, it doesn't really make sense to think that you could escape something that arrived and impacted you on an emotional level, on the level of thought. While there is a big interaction between the two, they're ultimately their own thing. So what you have to do when you're burdened with sadness, if you're feeling anger, which is a secondary emotion, we can talk about that later, to sadness. But when you're feeling sad, notice it in your body. not everybody will cry. Like, honestly, it's easier for us criers because you cry, you see the tears, you just let it out, you weep, you weep, you weep, and if you don't keep thinking about it, eventually it'll pass. But some people, it's more subtle. This is the subjective aspect of it. Some people, their hands just might get sweaty. They might clench their fists. Some people, they might feel like their breath has gotten shallow. But how you feel your emotions is notice what's showing up in your body. I could share for me personally, when I'm sad, I immediately am about to cry. So I usually feel that lump in my throat. I usually feel burning in my eyes, and I usually feel like I need to take deep breaths because suddenly it feels like the wind has been knocked out of me by the strength of the emotions that I feel, because I am an emotional person. No shame in my game. So how you move through that is you just focus on it. And like I said, don't focus on the event, because replaying the event is only going to prolong the pain. Because here's the thing. The brain does not know the difference between an imagined event and an actual event. So when you replay the initial cause of your pain, your body will actually go through it like it's really happening every time. So what's important, process it for the one time. You could review everything in your head, be like, whoa. But then you turn your focus to your body and where you feel it, and just breathe through it. I know it sounds easier said than done, but next time when something makes you sad or puts a lot of pressure on you, stresses you out, try not to think about it, but try to feel your feelings in your body. Focus in on feeling it as hard as you can, and I promise you, it's going to pass way faster than you could have ever imagined. Some things carry more weight, so it's not going to be instant, but some things that you might have shoved away and had keep popping up over the course of the week, the solid 3 minutes of feeling it, you could have gotten rid of it. And that kind of leads me into this next portion of what we're going to talk about, back to the heart chakra. And this is all sourced from The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Truthfully, a very transformative book for me. I hope that everybody finds the time. If you can't pick up the book and read it, get the audiobook. If you got Spotify, I know they started giving audiobooks free, which is awesome, so tune into that. If not, look up your local library site. They might have the ebook or something online. It's a really good book. But so it starts off in this certain chapter by explaining what is the heart. And the heart in the book is defined as an instrument of subtle energy. And I feel like that's kind of straightforward. It's something that we use to experience, channel, distribute, and concentrate energy. So if that definition is a little too abstract, I would like to, engage everybody and ask that we all kind of imagine our heart. So picture the little green spinny energy center in the center of your chest. And I want you to think about one of the happiest moments in your life. That's going to be different for everybody. And it doesn't have to be peak happiness. Me personally, I love the beach, so I mentally send myself to sitting on the beach, letting my toes be in the water, breathing in that fresh air. Maybe I'm with a friend, maybe I'm not. But you just feel such contentment. You can honestly feel it radiate out from your heart. You might not have been conscious in the past that it was your heart chakra that you're experiencing, but when you take in things from outside, you feel it through your heart chakra. So you take things in through your senses, and just a little neuroscience, everything that goes on in our brain, it's electric pulses. There's also chemicals, but I feel the chemicals are more emotion. The electric signals are between thought and emotion. So for example, I know a lot of us kind of understand our eyes to be, I don't know, little glass panels that we see the world through. But if you really think about it, that's not the case at all. Our eyes just catch light. We don't even directly see the light that our eyes catch. We have little receptors that are on the back of the little eye circle, and those get translated into electric signals to the brain, and your brain generates an image. So it's like, truthfully, energy is how we see the world. Energy is how we feel the world, because all the other senses work in that exact same way. So it's like, quite literally, all of our experience is energy. And it's unfortunate that a lot of us kind of are dismissive of our feelings, because in the world we live in, that's not typically what is seen as valuable, unfortunately. So when you take things in, it's allowing your senses to send energy into your energetic being and get filtered through. And most of the emotional, the really engaging stuff is getting filtered in through the heart. So the physical world in physical form does not pass through you. It's all, excuse me, it's all energy. It really is all energy. So considering that, I'm sure you guys have heard of like having like a blockage, well, blockage in all kinds, but specifically a blockage of the heart chakra. So another Sanskrit word is called a samskara. A samskara is an energetic blockage. The way that you could envision this is that in an ideal world, when we're at good, like emotional, energetic function, our heart is kind of like an opening where things get to come in and go back out. All energies are getting processed through the heart. So it's like, say for example, you're going on a drive. If your heart is in good health, you'll be looking at the trees pass, you'll look at the cars pass. You take everything in moment by moment. That's a sign of a good, healthy heart. You take moments as they come, and you experience each next moment. You experience like true presence. However, and this is when we could get kind of like, I don't know, electrical science. So picture this, it's like a circuit. A good functioning circuit, that energy, that current, it just passes through. There's like no switches or anything that are open, and allows the electric current to pass through fine. That's kind of how it is when energy is properly being processed through your heart chakra. However, let's say somebody puts a resistor on that electric circuit, it's either only a little bit of that current is going to get through, or none of the current is going to get through, and the machine is not going to be powered. Similarly, when you have an emotional experience, usually I'm a big nature girl, so when I'm looking at the trees, I'm just like, wow, the trees, I love this so much. My heart feels good, it passes through like normal, and I go on to the next experience. However, when you experience something negative, something traumatic, this is when the heart gets kind of put at risk, because it's kind of a natural inclination to resist that which is unpleasant. Like, we don't mind when our senses give us data on fun experiences. We don't even mind when the brain gives us data on neutral experiences. But, I don't know, let's say, for example, you're going on a casual scroll on the internet, and you're seeing videos of puppies, you're seeing cats, you're seeing nature videos, you're seeing funny memes, but then, I don't know, you see something really negative. Maybe you see somebody slandering your favorite celebrity. Maybe you see like a hate post. Suddenly things aren't just passing through and getting forgotten. They're getting held on to, because you might notice that physiological response. I don't know about anybody else, but when I see something like shocking in a negative way, I kind of get like a cold, blue vibratingness I feel in my chest around my heart chakra. Kind of like when people are having panic attacks, they say that their chest feels tight. It's something like that. And that's like not just putting a resistor on the circuit. That's me myself grabbing the wire and wondering why that electricity is like burning. Because while it seems like the protective choice to choose to resist something uncomfortable, because it kind of seems like it's something you have to run from, we kind of delude ourselves that like emotions have the power to actually harm our physical form or our spiritual form, so we try to do our best to push it away and keep it away from that. But that's not actual. Like I had mentioned earlier, Our heart connects us to Source. Your heart connects you to God. It connects you to the universe. It's the chakra through which love flows. And love is the antidote to all pain, to all fear. So it's kind of like, I don't know, a cognitive trap that we fall into with trying to resist that which is uncomfortable. Because me trying to use my hand on a wire to stop an electrical current, that's just going to continue to burn and to burn and to burn until I let go and allow it to fuel the machine and keep on going. So it's very important to, despite how uncomfortable a feeling might feel, use that tactic that I was describing earlier of tune into your body. Feel where you feel that in your body. It's going to hurt, it's going to suck, and it's going to be really uncomfortable. But you have to love yourself more than thinking anything in this physical world, anything in the social world, anything outside your spiritual being is worth closing your heart over. Because when you close your heart, you cut yourself off. You limit your energy. That's why when people are having panic attacks, they're banging on their chest, they're asking for help, they feel like they're having a heart attack because they can't breathe. Of course you can't breathe. You just cut yourself off from like your greatest ally. So a state of a good heart is when there's no resistance. A state that compromises the heart is when there is resistance. That creates the samskara and the energy blockage. And I'm going to hop on my laptop really quick and pull up this quote directly from the book. Book's so good, guys. I adore it. So this is in regards to like understanding like how the heart gets blocked. It says you can certainly see the potential for impressions, like negative energy impressions, to build up to the point where very little energy can make it through. If they build up sufficiently, you'll find yourself in a state of depression. In that state, all becomes dark. And a little like psychology tangent, that's where people get that negativity bias when they're in a bad mood, and it's like a person comes up to you being nice. It's like, what are they in such a good mood for? It's like you find a way to see even good things as bad, neutral things as bad, bad things as catastrophic. And this is all because you're closing off your heart. This is because very little energy is coming into your heart or mind. Eventually, everything appears negative because the world of the senses must pass through this depressed energy that you've accumulated before it gets to your consciousness. So I feel like one thing I forgot to like note was that when you repress things and when you, oh gosh, okay, hope everything's fine still, got a call. So when you repress things and you avoid them, in the moment it's going to work. You'll get to go about your business, maybe for the next couple of minutes, maybe not to the rest of your day, maybe even for like several months or years. But when you encounter a trigger of that event, it's going to be just like it's happening in real time. So it's very important to, even if sometimes you delay a big emotion or something that's overwhelming to you, make sure if you have to write it into your schedule, you come back to address it. Because while you might not notice right away the ways in which it's impeding you, you are limiting your access to that higher divine energy to pass through. Let me see. Sorry, got a little distracted with the call. So, oh yeah, also important to note, it's not just negative emotions that can get trapped. Good emotions can get trapped too. You probably have a memory of something that was just so beautiful and so like ecstatic to you that you were like, this is such a beautiful moment. I want it to live on forever. I'm always going to remember how this feels forever. But the thing is, while obviously that's not as bad as like the negative energy blocks, it nonetheless is occupying space and blocking off energy that could be flowing through you to create more of those moments in real time. And like it can honestly cause pain later on I could give, honestly, like a perfect real-time example. This month, I'm moving out of my apartment in Miami, and I've been living in Miami for the past 4 years, and those have been some awesome years. But I've graduated, I'm moving on to a new chapter. However, I hold on to so many fond memories, so many times where I'm just like, I wish I could like bask in this forever. And facing moving away from here, it's bringing up some stuff, man. It's bringing up some stuff. It's because I'm comparing with that positive samskara. Like, for example, I'm here now, and like majority of the people that I've spent the past 4 years like being on top of the world with are not here. Now, if we look at it objectively, I got me a nice apartment, nice view, tropical city, good food, good access to everything. There is nothing bad about that situation at all. But when you tune into that samskara of when I was like always rolling in like a pack of 5 people, always going out to this place, getting this food on the beach 24/7, didn't have to think about money myself, it kind of is like, dang, maybe this isn't the best. But it's like when I truly take that moment to cherish the beauty of what I had experienced for what it is, and I breathe through it and allow it to pass, it creates a lot more room in my heart for gratitude for where I am now, because there's a lot of beauty that I find myself blind to when I'm comparing it to intentionally remembered as perfect moments. Because the same way that the brain can have like a negativity bias, your brain can rewrite memories to be like way more like memorable and enjoyable than they might have actually been in the moment. So don't discriminate when it comes to not holding on to emotions and energies, because that energetic signature will be stored in your heart. It might just be a little bit, but it also could be so much that you can barely see through that you can barely feel through your sensory experience of what's going on now and the beauty of right now. Because letting energy flow through you allows that love to be constant. And I got another quote. This one's so fire. So it's talking about basically what I was just talking about, and it says, the highest state you have ever experienced is simply the result of how open you are, how aware you were, how present you were. If you don't close your heart, it can be like that all the time. Don't sell yourself short. This can go on all the time. Unending inspiration, unending love, unending openness. That is the natural state of the heart. Love and ecstasy is what's always going on. It's just a matter of you peeling back the layers that made you forget, removing all those little heart stains so that you can see with perfect clarity the beauty, the joy, the gratitude, the wholeness, the comfort, the contentment, and the just constant joy of being present. You just have to remember what that was like. Because, you know, when we were kids, man, we were just running around, la, 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 nothing ever to think about. And we were always having a blast with that, you know? So it's just a matter of restoring ourselves to that state of energetic purity. And going back to the psych notes, because, you know, I like to end off with the, like, so what do I do? I have been to therapy a couple times throughout my life, but I do maintain I don't think I needed to ever go beyond my first session, because what the woman taught me was a cognitive behavioral therapy tactic. So what that is, she told me to create a log. The first column in the log is the event, whatever took place to shift your energy and like switch your state. The second column is the thought. So she started off by telling me immediately write down what the event was. Just have the thought column there and go to the next column, the emotion column. Write down what you feel. Now, the reason that she told me to leave the thought one blank is because oftentimes we're not conscious that between a thing happening and us feeling bad about it is that there is a thought, there is a belief that is formed. And that was so groundbreaking to me. That literally liberated me from the acting and reacting of day-to-day life. It allowed me to become conscious that events aren't just directly impacting me. That sensory experience, those electric impulses that convert what happened to how you experience it, a thought happens in the middle of that. That event unconsciously told you something about yourself that you didn't want to hear. But the thing is, it doesn't have to be that way, because the last column after emotion is behavior. Oftentimes the behavior is go rage, send a nasty text, cry about it, ruminate, continue to beat yourself up about it, linger on it. However, when she taught me about this, my behavior, no matter how bad I felt, no matter what the event was, to write down and figure out what thought I had. So then the next behavior after that was revolutionize the thought. Let's say, for example, I don't know, somebody was like really mean to me, and I don't know, I can't really think of a detailed example right now, but somebody was mean to me. That's the event. So the emotion is, I'm sad, I'm hurt, I'm offended. And my behavior now is, let's check out what thought I had. The thought that I had was, maybe I'm deserving of unkindness. Maybe there's something about me that actually deserved to get treated poorly. Maybe she hates me. Like, if it's a person close to you, that thought, that somebody who genuinely cares about you actually doesn't like you, that's a really painful thought to move through. But when you take the time to expand on that thought, calm down your emotions after feeling it in your body, and really compare that, hold that note up against reality. Is that what's most likely? Oftentimes it's not. So you have to be ready to break down beliefs that your brain made. Who knows why it made it? Maybe it's from childhood trauma. Maybe it's because negative past experience with that person. There's a whole wide array of reasons why you might have felt the way that you did. But what's important is the behavior that follows. I feel like after talking about the heart chakra and that whole excerpt from The Untethered Soul, it could have all behaviors narrowed down to two categories. Do you close your heart, or do you keep your heart open? If there's anything that you guys take away from everything that I've said today, remember that nothing in this world around us, nothing in this external world is ever going to be worth closing your heart. Your heart is your tether to your higher power. Your heart is where you access unconditional, unending love. While it might be instinct to close yourself off as a protective impulse, your true protection is coming from within you. It's coming from source. Your protection from pain, your protection from fear, your protection from hurt is love. So please, if there's anything I ask for you guys going forward, do your very best to not close, because nothing will ever be worth closing over. And just to recap, how can you help yourself to not close? First and foremost, breathe. Really allow that air to pass through. Like, one of my favorite breathwork exercises is breathing in through my heart chakra. And you guys, if you want to, we could do a little practice of that right now. So do your best to sit up straight. And in the center of your chest, kind of imagine, I don't know, like an energy donut. It's a green energy donut. It's kind of like a vortex of energy. So while that's going in like a circle in line with your body, like kind of, I guess, perpendicular, going through that center, take a deep breath in. Let's go. And send it back out. You can kind of imagine it passing through like the front and back of you. So on your inhale, take a deep breath in and watch it go out through the back. and then pull it back through to the front on that exhale. I think that's a good baseline introduction to what an open heart feels like. Stuff can pass through because air, like our breath, it's an energy mover. So in any moment, don't just take shallow breaths. That's usually our first physiological loss when we are faced with negative emotions and negative situations. Your breath is usually the first to go, and then it's like the tension in the body, it's the heart beating, it's the heat in certain areas. So usually the first way you can disarm yourself, genuinely take a deep breath. I know it's so annoying to hear when you're freaking out. Somebody said, just breathe. But they're actually cooking. You should listen to them because breathing will help you. And keep your heart open. It's not always going to feel good to keep your heart open. Some people will see you with your open heart and put a dagger straight through it. But here's the tea. Even though they kind of stabbed you in your heart, on that next breath, an infinite whoosh of universal love is going to come and regenerate it right back. When you don't interrupt your access to love, you are invincible. Don't let the outside world trick you. Don't let cognitive distortions trick you. All that you have, all that you need, you already have. Just feel it. Tune into it. It's not easy peasy, and you're going to have phases throughout your life where you're conscious and where you're unconscious. But it's important to just always let it move. You won't always be able to address it on the spot. For example, there's been a couple moments throughout this podcast, because I'm low-key my brain's always doing 10 things at once. There's been a couple moments where I'm holy cow, I just remembered, became conscious of one of my energy blocks, and it's not bad that I didn't address it on the spot, because who wants to watch somebody giving them, I don't know, guidance start having a breakdown live? But it's I'll probably assign time right after this to write about it, maybe cry about it if it's that deep, and I'll wipe my tears and I'll keep my heart open because I know that there's only healing on the other side of that. So I think I covered everything. Hopefully I did. So yeah, I think that's all for me. So I, of course, would like to open up the floor for questions, comments, etc. And I actually have the chat open this time, so if anybody is shy to speak and they want to type a question or comment, feel free to do so now. I'm going to take everybody off mute. The brightest idea. Unmute yourself if you would like. Who's this? Hi.
No, I'll show you how to assist me.
What's up, Rescue?
I'm just checking in, still in the building. And you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm out. Back in the listener.
Okay, cool. Anybody else? And also for people who called on, press *6 to unmute yourself if you want to say something. Please. Okay. If nobody has...
Hi, my love. I don't know if you can hear me. It's Mandy.
Yeah,
so I just wanted to obviously give you your props. Number one, I'm listening to you, and the amount of self-awareness, I always tell you this, but the self-awareness and self-intelligence you have is amazing. I do have a question, though. If I'm not mistaken, around the 12:38-minute mark, you were reading a quote from a book, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me that book? Because you read, I did forget the quote word for word, but when you read it, I was like, oh, that's something to think about. Can you tell me that exact author and name, please, so I can write that in my notes?
Okay, so the book is called The Untethered Soul, and the author is Michael Singer.
Tethered Soul, Michael Singer. Thank you, mamas. Just wanted to give you your props and say that book, whatever that book is called, The Untethered Soul. Wow, that one little quote had me thinking for like 5 minutes.
Girl, I'm telling you, that book is awesome. It'll change your life literally in one read.
I recommend Becoming Supernatural. I don't know if you read that book yet, by Joe Esperanza. It's really good. I feel like that's a book you'll really love. Sorry, I'm doing my hair, but I just wanted to tell you that. And I'm still here.
For sure. Thank you for tuning in.
You're welcome.
Supernatural is an excellent book, especially if anybody's like a science nerd like me. I don't know if anybody's ever heard like the quote that quantum mechanics and quantum physics is where they hide the scientific evidence of like spirituality and manifestation.
I've heard that, yeah.
It does a really good job of like showing that. Okay. Anybody else? Go once. Go twice. Okay, go. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I always appreciate you guys' unending love and support. And like just a little more continuation on that whole heart chakra deal. Something that I've been practicing is like connecting to the hearts of other people. And it's just like, even in like the people who are in the session with me, you guys kind of fuel my heart, because all of our hearts are constantly like taking in but also giving off energy. So I just thank you guys for all the energy and the fuel that you give to me. And I hope that I'm able to contribute to your energetic pool in the same way. But if nobody has any further questions or comments, we're going to be wrapping it up here. So be sure to listen in later on today at 2 o'clock. Deborah's going to have her show up. Definitely going to drop some gems, provide more value for you guys. And yeah, feel free to tune in with me again next Saturday at 12 p.m. Unconfirmed, but I think starting in July, I'm going to shift this to a bi-weekly podcast, but I'll definitely update you guys concretely when I make the change. So love you guys so much. Thank you all for tuning in, and I hope everybody has a lovely Saturday. Bye-bye.